It's a hot sunny day, it's sort of mid-morning and we are taking our Terra variant over to the store. Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Big Bud Farm. So, since, well, I think for the last 6 months or so, if not longer, ever since the BSM hook lift came out, people have been asking me, how have you got a Terra variant with a hook lift attachment on the back? You know, as a console player, this wasn't a really easy option for us to do, and the reason I've been able to do this was because I still haven't updated the BSM 850 hook ever since it first came out, all those months and months and months ago. This is still the very first version of the hook lift, and back then the truck came as just a truck with the option of then paying, I think, an additional 20,000 or so to then get this hook lift attachment platform. So you could run the truck with the platform or without the platform. Now that was quickly kind of patched because it wasn't the most stable hook attachment. Those of you who remember way back when the Biobelts ITR truck came out on console, it lasted less than a day before it was pulled because it was just way too unstable. This wasn't as bad as that, but it did have a few stability issues that were kind of a little bit kind of similar, I suppose, to the problems that the 850 was having, that the ITR was having. So it was patched and updated, and then the hook became a permanent fixture of the 850 hook. It was no longer a separate platform. And of course, a lot of people updated their truck as soon as the update came out and lost the ability to get this separated out platform, which meant they lost the ability to have one of these. Now that's, you know, a shame for the people that had it installed, but anyone who's ever since sort of downloaded the mod for the first time has never had that option. And because I haven't updated it since it first came out, I've been able to kind of retain the ability to run it as a hook lift like this. Well, now finally there is a mod that allows everybody to have a hook lift on their Terra variant. So if we look here in trucks, this is the 850, and as you can see, this is all the kind of standard options that came with it. And then the truck itself was 195,000. If we go into tippers, scroll through to the mod section, there was the hook attachment for 25,000. It was a separate platform, not the tallest of things, as you can see, very kind of dumpy legs, and the only thing that was really low enough for it to drive under was the 850 hook. However, if you had a front loader with a claw or some pallet forks, or using the forklift as I do, you could raise it up and then lower it onto this. Well, now, as I say, we actually have a new mod that's just came out on Friday, and it's this, it's the HolRun, and it's cheap as well. It's only $2,800. So what this means is that everybody can now have a Terra variant hook lift. So I'm just going to detach this. I'm going to hold on to the hook platform just in case I end up prefer using this, in case there's some stability issues with the HolRun, because it's possible. In fact, I might actually have to reset that platform there. I think I am going to have to reset it. Let's scroll through the equipment list. There's a lot of gear on this farm, as you can see. An awful lot of gear. There it is. So let's reset that platform. That'll go to the little grass field up there, so you can see there it is now on the mini-map, just up there at the reset point. But here it is, the actual hook platform. Now this first popped into testing I think about 6 weeks ago, and it was only around for a couple of days and then it disappeared, and I don't think a lot of people actually clocked this. Not many people actually realised what this was when they saw it pop up in testing, and then it disappeared, and I think it made a reappearance not long after that for another day or two and then disappeared again. And yeah, I've been talking about this to people who have been messaging me about the 850 hook attachment that I've been using. I've been mentioning that this was in testing and that hopefully it would be coming soon, and we just didn't hear anything about it for a few weeks, and then it popped back up in testing this week and then was finally released on Friday. So as you can see, it's essentially A fully functioning hook lift attachment can work exactly the same way as the platform that we've been using, but the big difference is this one here is designed specifically for the Terra variant, so it's the right height, so you can literally just drop it, drive in and out underneath it, and carry on doing what you were doing. So this is a lot easier to use than what we were using before. So we were using the 850 hook attachment, and we had to kind of raise, use a pallet fork or use our forklift at the sheep farm to raise and lower that mod onto our Terra variant. Now we've got a much easier platform that we can use. So really excited to give this a try over the next week or two, and hopefully this will be nice and stable and we'll be able to continue using this, and it means I can finally update my 850 hook and start getting some of those improved features on it. Right, so with that news out of the way, I have good news, bad news. The bad news is there's going to be no potato challenge. Now, this isn't because I kind of backed out of it or chickened out of it. I got all of my recording done really early this week to free up a few days worth of time to be able to sit and do this challenge and record it, but I just can't get this mission to pop. It's really frustrating. As you can see, nothing pops when I try and take on the contract. It doesn't give me the mission, and I don't know why. It's just stopped giving me that option to try and do this harvest. Really frustrating. You can see I've even got my truck parked just there in the bushes so that I had a quick way to skip to this field, but it won't work. So there is going to be no potato challenge, unfortunately. Really disappointed. I was really looking forward to it. Last week I was kind of very sort of nervous and wary of doing this job. This week I was actually really fired up to do it, and I can't. Now that I really want to do it, I can't do it, which is a huge disappointment to me. But all is not lost. The good news part is that we will attack field 4 here. Now, field 4 has sunflowers on it, and this is a big field. Now, in terms of time it'll take to do this job, it's nowhere near as long. This will take, using a 45-foot draper on something like, say, soybean, this field will take about 7 hours to harvest. It'll take somewhere between 6 and 7 hours for me to do it, I think, with sunflowers. I'll take on a job that'll provide me with a corn header. Here's the 16-row one. I'm going to see if I can get one with a 12-row header to pop. You see, we're being offered 300,000 to do it with a 16-row, 200,000 to do it with a helianthus. There is a way to, if you do it with a 12-row header, which is a 9-meter working width, then you get offered even more money, and I'm trying to see if I can get that one to pop. There we go. So there you can see 400,000 to do it with a 12-row header. So this is the job that we're going to take on instead. This is going to earn us 400,000 for this, and we'll probably get around about 150,000 in time bonus by, instead of using the 12-row header it provides, we'll be using our 16-row helianthus instead. Means we'll be able to harvest a wider amount per pass, and also at 3 miles an hour faster per pass. So we are going to take on this job. And you may well just see in the distance, I actually have my own CR1090 kind of parked up there. There's a trailer behind it, and then just on the edge of the field you can see my helianthus is there ready and waiting. So this is a substitute job for the job that we couldn't do, unfortunately. We're not going to get anywhere near the kind of money that we were looking at, but we're going to get half of it. I mean, the potato job was supposed to pay a little under 1 million, and then a time bonus on top of that. I have no idea how big that time bonus would have been, because I've never attempted to do a harvest like that before. There we go, header on. But as I say, we do have this mission available to us as a substitute mission, and this will earn us a nice big chunk of cash. We're at 3.5 million right now. This is going to take us to over 4 million. We also have another 300,000 in the bank, so that's going to take us to somewhere close to 4.4 million once this job is complete. And then all we need then is another sort of 700,000, maybe a touch more. Now, don't forget we have 500,000 litres of sunflowers, and if we can get a really good price, that'll be somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 as well. Plus, we also have silage that is left inside the BGA, and if I can get a decent price on that, I could probably make another couple of 100,000. Well, maybe not a couple of 100,000, but I can certainly make another 100,000 with what we've got left. Maybe a little bit more. So we're almost there on owning field 2. We are almost there, and we also have our beet field to work with just over there as well. So those beets there, if we can get a good price on those, especially if we can get a great demand on those beets, we will be golden. We will have all the money that we need to finally buy field 2, and once that is in our control, earning money on this field here, to buy this field, will be a lot quicker and a lot smoother, and we're one step closer to finally completing the Big Bud Challenge. And to help us with that, and to kind of quell the disappointment of not being able to do the potato challenge on field 2, instead we will try and set up another version of that. We'll try and do a beet challenge instead here on field 4. Now, I say a beet challenge because field 4 is obviously an extra 24 hectares on top of the size of field 2, but we're going to own field 2 pretty quickly, so we're not going to be able to do contract work on that field, but we will be able to do it on this one here. And the beets, despite being an extra 24 hectares in size, will be quicker to harvest and easier to harvest because we'll be using either the Roper Tiger, or we'll be using the Pterodos. One of those two harvesters. Probably will use the Terra variant, sorry, the Pterodos, but we may possibly use the Tiger as well. Gives us a chance to actually really put that through its paces. So we will try and replace the potato challenge with a beet challenge on this field instead. I'll make sure that beets get planted on this field as best I can, and then once they're ready to grow, we will attempt to do a beet harvest on this field. It'll probably take me about 24 hours or so to harvest this field with beets, so a long time, but the money that we'll make will be substantial and will be a huge chunk towards the 6.4 million we need to buy this field outright. So we have some options ahead of us, and we have some tasks ahead of us still. So I'm going to sort of jump ahead a bit now. I'm going to do a little bit more harvesting on this field, and I will catch up with you as we've made a little bit more progress with some updates. And there we go, that is the border done around this field, so that gives me that little bit of extra space before I potentially get too far away from the field when making my turns. A little safety margin. So now I'm just going to be running up and down the field to get this done. It's taken me about 20 minutes or so to do that border around the field. We had 1,249 minutes and 56 seconds on the clock when we took this job on, which is about 20 hours. Sorry, well, a little short of 21 hours in total time sort of provided for us to do this. I reckon this will probably take me maybe 7.5 hours. It might take me a little over 7 hours actually to do this. I'm trying to remember how long it took me last time I did one of these contracts on this field here, but it's going to take me quite some time. I'm going to do this all in one single sitting, so this could be a long job here, but we'll get some nice cash from this. 400 grand base payout, and then probably, as I say, I'm expecting at least 150 as a time bonus on top of that. So 550,000, $500,000 for this job, will go a long way towards purchasing the next field, field 2 over there. So we are closing in on 1 hour on this field so far. You can see just ticked over to 1189, and there we go, that is an hour. So that's how much we've done so far. We've done the border around the field, and we've done a few passes going up and down this side. Still got a fair amount of the field to see that still needs to be done over there, as you can see. If we kind of put that into perspective with the mini-map, you can see that's our position on the field. That gives you more of an idea of just how much more we still got to go. So not even a quarter of the way through this field. We're probably on, as I say, for around about 7-ish kind of hours total time to get this thing done. But we've made some decent progress, and I will catch up with you again, I suppose, as we start up closing in on hour number 2. And that is about 2 hours now that we've been plodding away on this field. Let's see where we are now. We're about not far off, about a third of the way through the field, a little under a third of the way through the field. So yeah, between 6 and 7 hours, which is my initial estimate for the length of time, looks as though it could be about right, I think. I'd say we're not too far off a third of the way through this field. Making pretty good progress. If I get the chance as well, I'll be doing the beet harvest straight after this. So we may see that in this episode. It may get pushed into the next one. Depends how much time I have left. If I start rambling about something and eat up a load of screen time, then that may get pushed to the next episode. But yeah, once this field is done, the very next thing we'll be doing is the beet field, because we need to kind of start turning our fields over again. Both fields 3 and 1 are in need of ploughing, so that's a lot of work that's involved in there, getting those sort of ready and prepped. I probably should have hired a worker to plough field 1 while I was working away on this, but never mind. That's something we could look at maybe doing while we're doing some other contracting. Perhaps is getting a worker to plough that field for us, and then we could manually do field 3. I don't know whether or not field 5 is going to need a plough, but I get the feeling it probably will once we've got those beets out of the way. After that, I don't know what to do. I think we might go back to more soybean. Yeah, we've still got a little bit left. We've got about 30,000 litres or so left in storage, and it's the best value crop that we have available to us, really. There's a great demand going on at the moment for sugarcane, and there's no way I want to do sugarcane on this. You know, a 2-row harvest at best. It's going to take an eternity to get that kind of shifted. So, and just there'd be nowhere to store it as well. I mean, even having 800,000 litres at the main silo, it's not even going to come close to being able to store the amount of sugarcane from any of our 3 big fields, not by a long shot. Even with an extra 600,000 litres of storage down by the mill, you know, we're still talking, you know, nowhere near anything like the kind of storage we're going to need for one of these 3 fields. You know, one, 2 or 4 if we decide to do sugarcane. So I'm going to avoid that, because it's just going to slow everything right down to an absolute crawl, and we're starting to gear up towards a sprint now. But yeah, we have ploughing to do with our fields on fields 1 and 3, maybe on field 5 as well. We'll get them all kind of set to the same state, and then hopefully we'll be able to add field 2 into that as well before we start doing our next round of planting. We'll see. We'll see how the market's looking for our sunflowers that we have in storage, and also for our silage that is left at the BGA as well. So yeah, fingers crossed we will be able to add field 2 in before we get the chance, or before we have to do our next round of planting, and then we can really attack the soybean crop on our next round. So you can see on the dial we're now around about halfway through the job, maybe fractionally just over as well. It's a little hard to tell, but I think we've just gone slightly over halfway through the job requirements. In terms of how much we've cleared off the field, well, not quite half the field, but you know, it's a contract. We don't have to clear the entire field, we just have to clear the allocated amount. And we've been going since 1250 minutes. We're now around about, you know, 1080, give or take a few seconds, so that's around about 170 minutes, which is just under 3 hours. So it does look as though we're actually going to clear this in under 6 hours. That's pretty impressive. I didn't think we'd do it quite that quick. I thought it would be somewhere between 6 and 7, but less than 3 hours to get to the halfway point. I'm quite impressed with how easily we've been getting this done. I've been actually really efficient as well. I mean, I had a little wobble a second ago just as I was about to hit record, where I accidentally yanked the steering a bit and cut into the field, but generally I've been very, very efficient. I've only left a couple of tiny little strips. You can just see on the sort of the center of the screen at the top there, just a thin line. There was that one pass that was a little bit iffy in places where I tried to take too much per pass, and then there's that little wobble coming up just in front of us there. But apart from that, it's been clean, smooth harvesting all the way, nothing left behind on the field, so it's gone very well. Been making very, very good time indeed. So yeah, I will see you in a little while longer, and in less than 3 hours we should have this job finished and around another 550,000 in the bank. Around about 2/3 of the way through this job, so if the math holds up we should be done in around 2 hours time. There's a lot of field cleared so far, still a fair old chunk to go, but take a look at the mini-map. We are about 2/3 of the way through the actual field itself, so yeah, it's getting closer and closer to being complete and a nice big cash deposit in the account. Getting down to the business end of this contract now, almost finished, as you can see, just a little sliver left on our dial in the top right corner, and only a few rows in total, or a few passes left in total on the field. So we're probably about 10 minutes away from actually getting this job finished, which can't come soon enough. I need to take a break. I've been harvesting non-stop for about, well, over 5.5 hours now. We started with 1250 minutes on the clock. We've now got 930 left, so that's 320 minutes, which is 5 hours 20 minutes. So actually, yes, that's just around about 5.5 hours, or give or take, a little under. So actually, it looks like we're going to get this job done even quicker than I thought. You know, if we can do this in the next sort of 10 minutes or so, then we're looking 5.5 hours exactly. That would be pretty impressive, actually, to get it done that quickly. And probably about an hour faster than I thought this job would take. So that'll be nice. That'll be, as I say, 400,000 for the job itself, probably a good 150 or so as a time bonus. So that'll give us, let's see, we had about 3.5 million before we started this. So that'll put us on 5 million? No. That'll put me on 4 million, 4.1, somewhere in that region. Brain's kind of addled a little bit from just endlessly driving up and down this field. So yeah, we'll be looking around about 4.1 million or so once this job is finished, somewhere in that kind of ballpark. We need 5.1 to be able to buy field 2, which is over there. Now we have another 300 grand available to us as our loan, so that takes us to 4.4. Then we have our sunflower crop, which will need to be sold. We'll have our beet crop, which we're going to harvest as soon as I've had a quick break from this. So that'll probably bring in maybe 500,000 litres or so of beets. Maybe a little bit less than that, but it'll certainly bring in a fair amount of beets. So that'll be good. If we can get a good price and if we can get a great demand, that'll be some nice cash. What else? Yeah, so the 500,000 litres of sunflowers that we currently have in our silo just over there, that'll probably be worth around 350 to 400 grand, depending on the price that we can get, and again, whether or not we can get a great demand for sunflowers. And we have the silage that still remains in the BGA, in that fourth bunker back at the BGA plant there behind our farm. Money over there probably will give us another 50 to 100 grand as well. So that's all sort of adding up to giving us the money that we need to buy Field 2 outright, which means hopefully when we come back next week I will already have ownership of Field 2, which means we can then crack on with ploughing and seeding and cultivating and fertilising and all that stuff on, you know, fields 1, 2, 4, no, 1, 2, 3 and 5. Get all of those turned into crop fields, start really making a concerted push to bring in some big crop harvests. See just how much we can actually get. Not quite sure if I want to split things up a little bit, maybe do fields 3, 5 and 1 as one particular crop, and then do a different crop on field 2, kind of balance things out a little bit, hedge my bets for a great demand. I'll think about that, or whether to just do them all in one single crop. Means if we get a great demand, we will be laughing all the way to the bank. We'll have a huge amount of storage, you know, or a huge amount of that particular crop, but it does lessen the odds of a great demand popping that actually fits us. So I don't know whether to balance my chances a little bit and go with 2 separate crops, or maybe just throw all my eggs in one basket and go for one big income off a single crop. And if we're going to do that, then it's going to be soybean. That's the value crop. That's where the real money is. So yeah, a little bit of thinking to do on that one. But yeah, you can see we are getting much closer to having this field completely done now. And then after that, we'll be able to really sprint to owning this field, Field 4 outright. We'll need 6.4 million, which is quite a bit of cash. And we'll be starting with absolutely nothing. You know, we'll have no money available to us in the loan. We'll have no crop because we'll have sold it all to finance buying Field 2. And our cows will kind of be covering our expenses. So, yeah, it'll take us a little while to get going, but then we'll still have contracting work available on this field. I mean, we can do, once this harvest is done in terms of contract work, you know, potentially this field will need to be ploughed. It'll definitely need to be fertilised. It'll need to be cultivated and seeded and fertilised again, and then a third time as well. So there's still, you know, several jobs that we can do on this before the next round of harvesting. And I think the next round of harvesting for this field will be beets. I'm going to try and engineer it so that we plant beets on this field. And then, you know, we missed out on doing the big potato challenge. We'll do a beet challenge on this field instead. A 24-hour long harvest. I don't know if I'm going to try and do that all in one single go. Could be epic. Trying to do it in a single sitting, that would be intense. I don't think I'd have the stamina for that anymore, but I can certainly do that over 2 separate sittings, 12 hours at a piece. So yeah, there's all that stuff. Oh, and we still have our sheep as well. I keep forgetting about the sheep. You know, we have, I think, already a completely full trailer in storage, if memory serves me right. So that's 20 pallets. Now the price for wool at the moment, I think, is around about 4,000 per 1,000 litres. So each pallet that we have is worth $8,000. We have 20 pallets, so that's 160,000 just off one complete sort of trailer that's tucked away in storage. Because if I remember rightly, we did that, and then we stuck the other one, you know, the empty trailer down, and the other one went into that little shed next to our sheep. So we'll check that out. We might even sell that directly after finishing this harvest. I guess we'll see how we're getting on with that. You can see fuel is actually in the red now. I completely forgot about bringing a fuel trailer over, but luckily it doesn't look as though we're going to need one for this particular harvest. The extra 9 miles, or the extra 3 miles an hour harvesting speed is definitely helping us get this done without the need to top up our combine. If this was just doing a standard grain harvest with a 45-foot draper, then yes, we'd be in serious trouble and we would have needed a fuel tank to finish this field off. We've seen that happen before. Back in episode 6, I finished episode 6 and then I did a contract harvest on this field. I think it was soybean at the time. Pretty sure it was soybean. And I ran out. After 6.5 hours of harvesting, I ran out of fuel. And had to buy a fuel trailer, which was a chore in itself because I couldn't access the shop menu. If you haven't seen it, I'll actually link it in the description. It's Big Bud Farm episode 6 extra, a little sort of 15-minute video that I put together after finishing episode 6, and where I ran out of fuel on a contract job and then had to try and recover that situation without my own fuel bowser sort of standing by. That was an intense sort of moment there, very much squeaky bum time, trying to get all that done in little 10-second intervals so I didn't end up cancelling the job and losing 6.5 hours worth of progress. So close now, so close to getting this done. Any moment now we are going to get that little ping and a nice big wad of cash. We may have to get to the bottom of this row for that to happen, but you can see that the circle itself is almost completely full. There's just a tiny little kind of dimple at the top to indicate that it's not quite full, but it's not far off. We are literally anywhere from seconds to minutes away from getting this job complete. And it's been a chore, it's been a challenge, but it's worth it. For the amount of cash that we're going to bring in for this, yeah, it's been worth it. It's been relatively straightforward as well. I've had Netflix for company, keeping me occupied while I've been running up and down the field. So I haven't been sat here doing nothing but staring at a screen. I've kind of been switching my attention between this and my tablet. Also going back and answering some of your questions and replying to your comments on other videos as well. So like I say, if you do have questions or comments, do please keep them coming in. I do like to read those, and I do respond where I can as well. And we talked a couple of weeks ago about getting more cows. That is definitely going to happen. Field 2 comes first. We're so close to Field 2 now. That comes first, and then once that's done, we will invest a bit more cash into our dairy farm. We'll push the number of cows up to 200 so that we can start bringing in an increased volume of milk every day, which will bring us an increased volume of cash every day, which will actually stop. Oh, there we go. There's the ping. 399,982 for the job, and 219,951 for the payout for the time bonus. That's big. I was not expecting that big a time bonus there. Wow, 220,000. That's more than half the job payout. That's huge. That's awesome. That is so awesome. So look at that. We're at 4.18. Nearly 4.2. Let's just quickly see if we throw our loan into there as well. That'll put us up to what? We've got a full loan available, so it's 300,000. So that'll put us at 4.487, nearly 4.5 million. We need 600,000 essentially to actually finish paying for everything. So that is fantastic news. Let me just quickly hop over here. This gives me the option to do this job now. I'm going to cry. Nope, still not let me do it. But there's the payout that we need, 5.1 million. So currently we are sitting at 1 million, or just a fraction under 1 million short, or just over 1 million short. Sorry. As I say, we have another 300 grand that we can add in from our loan. So that means we need 700,000. We have our beet harvest over there, which we're going to crack on with in a moment. That's going to give us maybe another 100 grand. We have our sunflowers, which are going to give us somewhere between 300 and 400 grand. We have our silage at the BGA, and we have our wool up here. I'm just going to quickly jump up and check. There's our forklift. If I jump out of the forklift, yes, look, we have, was it 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay, so it's 16 pallets, not 20 pallets, but still a lot of cash. And we have another 2 complete pallets and 1 partial pallet that's nearly full. And how many more do we have on here? Another 2 as well. So yeah, we're well on our way to restocking up on our wool, and the price, as I say, should be pretty good right now. 4,130. You know, I think we're going to sell that, and it gives us a chance as well, actually. Just straighten this up. I don't know why, but on some of these maps, these Junos, they tend to get a bit wonky. They start veering off. This map in particular has always had an issue. Not so much with the sheep. I mean, it does kind of get a bit wonky from time to time, but never usually too extreme. But the one by the cows, that just goes crazy. If I cycle through, look at that. Look, see, it's kind of how it's got itself wedged all the way over there. I do not know. I can't even see the tyre tracks anymore from where it was. So we're gonna have a big bit of mess over here to clear up. I have to keep repositioning this thing, because if I don't pay attention to it, it just starts veering and drifting, and then it'll catch on something, and then it starts veering even more, and yeah, it just ends up, sometimes it ends up in some really, really bizarre places. I don't know, maybe there's a bump somewhere in this ground that just throws it off course. Maybe it's the ground response mod, I don't know. But it just doesn't seem to like moving around on here for some reason in a straight line at any rate. It tends to veer off and go a bit wonky. So where is our Terra variant? There it is. We're going to try out the HolRun. We might as well. We've bought it, we've paid for it, we might as well give it a try out, see how well this thing is, see how stable it is. So let me go and load up the first pallet that's kind of in storage. I may possibly even load up what's available at the sheep farm as well. I will see you back there with some wool on the back of this Terra variant in just a moment. Alright, so let's bring the hook back. Tell you what, it's quite a nice hook action at the back. It doesn't have that kind of it seems to go a little bit lower, sit a bit more flush than the other one did, so there's no kind of angle where it's only the rear of the pallet that I'm connecting to is on the ground. That's quite nice, I like that. So let's pull this out. Obviously it's going to be a little wobbly because of the high centre of gravity. I'm looking to see whether the pallet itself is sliding a little bit. Look, you can see it's just sliding around on top of the whoa! Oh! Whoops! Went a little bit too fast there. Let's see if I can recover this. At the very least, that should make it a little bit easier to pull over. Okay. I think I need my front loader. Sorry, my wheel loader for this. I'll see you in just a second. This thing's filthy. Needs a bit of a clean. It's been hard at work. shoveling a lot of silage recently, but here we are. Let's see if we can. There we go. That's better. So, yeah, one thing that you need to be very aware of is, of course, the high center of gravity when you have a high stacked container like this on the back. So it might be worth switching to just front wheel steering like that. Make you a little bit more stable in the turns, because the turns aren't quite so tight. You can see that the rack is sliding just a little bit, but it's not too bad. It seems pretty stable, so that's kind of cool. It's a definite improvement on the sort of other sort of hook lifts that we've seen in the past that have been really, really inconsistent. It's nice that we have this platform attachment, and it does make me wonder whether or not we can hook this up to other vehicles as well, or if it is just for a Terra variant. So what I'm going to do is, I forgot how slow my turning radius is in just two-wheel steering. We're going to hook up the rest of the wool, so we are actually going to take down another 4 pallets on top of this. I've got to figure out which one is the full pallet, or which one is the partial pallet. Sorry. Let's get the hook extended. So we'll load up another 2 pallets onto the rear trailer. There we go. And I think it's a shame I don't have seasons. I could have scanned it with a Wopster. Never mind. We can do the old-fashioned method. We can just stick our forks under the pallet and see what the total is. And I get the feeling that these two are the complete ones, and that one on its own is the partial. I hope that's the case. It would certainly make things a lot simpler. Just change the angle of the forks slightly. That was a full pallet. That one I kind of knew about, and that was the full pallet as well. Excellent. So let's drop these onto the back of here. Just nudge that one forward a little bit. There we go. So now we do have 20 pallets. 16 on the back of the Terra variant, and then another 4 here on the ITR trailer. So that will bring us another 160 grand. So, you know, we needed 700. Now we need 540. And between the sale of our beets and our sunflowers, we could raise most, if not all of that. And if you factor in the silage as well, then we will definitely have enough money to cover all of that. So yeah, this time next week we will have Field 2. I might have to accelerate time a little bit to change the market prices, in which case I'll probably get some ploughing done while I'm waiting. But we will make that money, and we will own Field 2. So let's go sell this wool, and then if we have time, do the beets as well. And there we go, $165,000 for a nice big wool sale. Awesome stuff. So 3 passes into our big beet harvest. I've already made 2 dumps on the bottom of field 4 there. Oh, is he going to move? Yeah, there we go. And I'll get best part of 2 dumps on this pass here. This will fill up with 35,000 nice and quickly. I'll go and tip that along that strip just there, and then nip back over and do another run to the end of this pass, and that'll net me just under 35,000 as well. So this is working out to be a very nice, quick and efficient way of emptying our beets, getting them into a nice, easy to manage pile, waiting for our Terra Fellis to come and deal with these. And you can just see it there coming into the shot at the end of the field. So let's get lined up, pipe out. That's about right. Get started and off we go, running the edge of the field and building up the pile of beets. I did think about using the roper equipment for this, but it's expensive. I already own beet equipment, which so it seems kind of silly not to use that. And even to lease, you know, a Tiger is going to cost me a small fortune, and then, you know, to lease a roper 6, sorry, a roper mouse, you know, the mouse 5 on top of that as well. It's just, it's throwing money away when I'm trying desperately to save it. So had I not got the Holmer equipment already, then yes, I would be using the roper equipment. But fear not, we will be using roper equipment on Green River, on Fent Farm. We already have beets planted, and we will be using that. Plus we'll be using the Kyler 2 on Seasons in the Valley, and we may possibly even use some beet harvesting equipment from roper on there as well. I haven't decided yet. May just stick with the Grimmer Rooster. I'm not 100% on this, but I don't remember this potato dust and beet dust. You know, this dirt, you know, you can see coming out of the cage system here. I don't remember that being part of the original animation of this thing. I think that this might perhaps be something that's been added in as a result of the roper patch. I'm going to have to go back and check one of my older videos in this series when I last did some beet harvesting to see if that dirt texture and dirt animation was there, but I don't remember that previously. It may well be there, but I have no memory of it. So that'll be interesting to go back and check and see whether or not that was actually there or not. Well, I've just gone and checked episode 35 of Big Bud Farm, where we last did beet harvesting, and there was dirt showing on that. So I just maybe just didn't pay attention to it last time, or I completely forgot about it. I probably just forgot about it is more likely the real thing. But yeah, that was an original feature. It's not something that's been added in with the patch, so at least that answers that question. Well, there we go. That is the end of the harvest. We do still have the sort of cleanup still to do. Still have to get these beets loaded. You can see I've got the Felis lined up and ready to go. Slow cruise control down. Start unloading. Which we're going to add to this beet pile along here. So yeah, I'm going to jump into the Terra Felis once this is empty, collect all of these beets up, and then ship them over to our storage unit just over there, and then that is it for the end of this week's episode. So between now and next Sunday, I'm hoping to get some contract work done, maybe sell our beets, maybe sell our sunflowers, and certainly try and sell our silage as well. And fingers crossed, when you come back this time next week, we will have Field 2 owned and ready to go. So really looking forward to that. Hope you'll come back and join me for that, and I will see you all again with another episode of Big Bud Farm very soon.